Welcome to today's Explainer. I am so thrilled you're here today because we're going to unpack one of the most universally beloved, absolutely heart-melting behaviors in the entire animal kingdom. If you're a dog parent, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You say a word, maybe make a strange noise, and suddenly, swoosh, your dog's head tilts to the side. It's adorable, but it turns out it's actually incredibly complex. So let's just dive right into it.
We've all had that visceral awe moment. You look at your furry best friend, they hit you with that angled stare, and you literally can't help but wonder, what is going on in that furry head of yours? What is your dog actually trying to tell you? Well, behind that cute expression lies a fascinating blend of anatomy, deep cognitive processing, and cross-species communication. It isn't just a cute trick, it's hard science.
Okay, here's our cognitive journey for today's Explainer. First, the ultimate canine mystery. 2. Pinpointing invisible sound locations. 3. Clearing the visual path. 4. Processing words and expressions. 5. The power of reinforcement. And finally, number 6. When to see a vet.
Section 1. The ultimate canine mystery, unpacking the adorable. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is that the head tilt isn't just one single behavior with one single cause. It's actually a brilliant, multi-layered response. It's a mix of hearing, vision, mental processing, and training, all rolled into one adorable package.
Section 2. Pinpointing invisible sound locations, the physical mechanics of hearing. To really understand this, we've got to look at the biology.
So dogs have a sheer mechanical advantage over us here. While they hear a much wider range of frequencies than humans do, they actually aren't quite as precise at figuring out exactly where sound is coming from. To compensate for that, they have these amazing movable ear flaps called pinna. When a sound is just a little bit indistinct or muffled, a dog will physically reposition these flaps by tilting its head to optimize the sound collection.
Think of your dog's head tilts like a highly advanced radar dish adjusting its angle. By tilting their head, they change the position of their ears, which totally helps them determine the exact direction and distance of a noise. They are actually detecting microscopic time differences, literally fractions of a second, between when the sound waves hit one ear versus the other. It's just an incredible feat of auditory engineering.
Section 3. Clearing the visual path. Overcoming the snout. But, hearing is only part of the story, because dogs have a rather obvious physical obstacle right in the absolute middle of their face.
Yep, we're talking about the snout. According to really fascinating research by psychologist Dr. Stanley Coren, a dog's muzzle can severely block the lower portion of their field of vision. His studies found that dogs with more pronounced long muzzles, like greyhounds or German shepherds, actually tilted their heads toward their owners much more frequently than flat-faced breeds like pugs or bulldogs. The tilt literally shifts their snout out of the way so they can see better. And why do they need to see you so clearly? Well, because they're watching you. By tilting their head and opening up that line of sight, dogs are able to clearly read our lips, our microexpressions, and our overall emotional state. They rely really heavily on our facial expressions to understand our moods and figure out what we're asking of them.
Section 4. Processing words and expressions, the cognitive leap. So this isn't just about raw physical senses. It's about intelligence and memories, too.
To prove this, researchers at Eötvös-Loránd University in Budapest studied a completely fascinating group of animals known as gifted word learner dogs, or GWL dogs. These are a really rare subset of exceptionally smart dogs, mostly border collies, who are naturally capable of learning and retaining the names of dozens and sometimes even hundreds of different objects and toys, all without intentional training.
And the data brilliantly illustrates the cognitive connection here. The researchers asked the owners of both typical dogs and gifted word learner dogs to say a familiar toy name. The typical dogs tilted their heads about 2% of the time, but the gifted word learner dogs? No way. They tilted their heads a massive 43% of the time when hearing a familiar word.
The researchers concluded that for these highly intelligent dogs, the head tilt is a sign of intense concentration. When they hear the name of a toy, they're making a cross-modal match, meaning they are actively linking the spoken word they just heard to a stored visual memory of that specific toy in their brain. It's basically the canine equivalent of a human furrowing their brow when trying to recall a specific memory.
Biologically, the way their brain parses our speech is just fascinating. Dogs process familiar human words primarily in the left hemisphere of their brain, while they interpret emotional vocal tone in the right hemisphere. The study found that individual dogs actually have a distinct preference for tilting either to the right or to the left. By favoring one ear, they're likely routing those auditory signals to a specific hemisphere for much faster processing.
Section 5. The power of reinforcement. How we accidentally train them. Okay, so we've got hearing, vision, and cognitive recall. But there is one more massive piece to this puzzle, the social aspect.
As dog parents, we're actually training them to do this through a classic operant conditioning loop. It essentially works like this. Step 1, the dog tilts its head naturally to hear you or see you better. Step 2, you immediately melt, say "ah," and shower them with praise, petting, or maybe even a treat. And then, step 3, the dog quickly learns that this specific posture earns them incredible social engagement, so they repeat it. We inadvertently reward the behavior every single time.
And there's a beautiful biological synergy to this connection. The muscles in a dog's middle ear, which they use to tune into your voice, are actually controlled by the exact same part of the brain that controls their facial expressions and head movements. So a dog that is intently trying to listen to you is neurologically wired to look incredibly expressive and engaged at the exact same time.
The crucial point here is that a dog's head tilt is essentially their version of a human head nod during a conversation. Just as we nod to show a friend we're actively listening and actually care about what they're saying, dogs use the head tilt as a social tool to signal that they are fully engaged with us. It really deepens the bond between pet and parent.
Section 6. When to see a vet. Knowing the warning signs. Now, while this behavior is almost always a sign of health, engagement, and love, it is really important to know the medical caveats.
If your dog displays a persistent head tilt, meaning their head just stays tilted constantly, even without any sound or visual trigger, it could be a sign of a medical issue. A primary concern is vestibular disease, which disrupts their inner ear balance center. Warning signs for this include a sudden loss of balance, stumbling or circling, involuntary eye jerking known as nystagmus, and nausea or vomiting. Simple ear infections can also cause persistent tilting and scratching, by the way. If you see these signs, especially in an older dog, definitely get them to a vet. But really, don't panic. While vestibular disease looks incredibly scary and severe, especially in the first 24 to 48 hours, most dogs with idiopathic old dog vestibular disease begin to improve really quickly and fully recover within 2 to 3 weeks with proper supportive care.
But, barring any medical issues, the head tilt remains one of the purest forms of cross-species communication we have. As the researchers at Etwas University perfectly summarized it, a pup's endearing head tilt may be an adorable attempt to better understand us. It's a gorgeous combination of them wanting to hear us clearly, see our faces perfectly, process our words, and just soak up our attention. It's empathy, curiosity, and love all wrapped up in a single physical motion. So I'm going to leave you with this to ponder. The next time your dog hits you with that adorable, irresistible head tilt, what are they trying to understand about you? Pay close attention to your own body language and your words, because I guarantee you they are hanging on your every sound. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.